Hello, I'm the Anime Viewer 66, and today I'm going to be reviewing the anime The World God Only Knows, Season 1 and Season 2. Now, to understand this anime, you must first understand what a visual novel is, and for the less nerdy of you out there start Googling it, let me go in and explain what that exactly is. A visual novel is basically a dating simulation game, hence why another name is Dating Sim. But a visual novel basically allows you to date a girl in a video game. The way it's done is basically you can play a game. The various different choices they give you in the game can change the outcome of the story. For instance, go to lunch or don't go to lunch can make or break an entire thing within the game, depending on what game you play. Now, a visual novel is not that popular in the West, needless to say, because when we think of playing a video game, we think mainly of shoot the thing or save the princess. We don't typically think of dating someone, but it is very popular in Japan, spanning very, very many different genres of the dating sim game. There's the ones where you could have the childhood friend, or the teacher, the librarian, many different archetypes. There's even some where you could date guys instead of girls. There's tons of them out there. But without a doubt, this is definitely not a game that would usually come out in America, considering that isn't normally how we perceive what a game is. And of course, these games can range anywhere from E for everyone to M for mature, pretty obviously why. So how does this all tie into The World God Only Knows? It just so happens that our main character, Keima Katsuragi, happens to be a master of visual novels. And so, he is so much a master that everyone within the nerddom of the visual novels in Japan bow down and recognize him as the god of visual novels, or the god of conquest, hence the name The World God Only Knows. Now, as the god of conquest amongst the nerd fandom, he is awesome. So much so that he even gets companies to recognize his awesomeness and ask for help later on in the series. But this is also a sort of double-edged sword, because in the real world, he is considered a helpless shut-in. Even his own mom thinks that he is, well, just sad. But he is a very relatable character. I'll be honest, when I first saw his character, I thought he was rude, obnoxious, and downright just mean sometimes. I didn't really like his character to begin with. But over time, I realized why I still liked this character, even though he was kind of rude. I didn't really like his character to begin with, but he sort of grew on me as the story went by. The main reason I think that is because he is such a relatable character for nerds. Because let's face it, as nerds, most of us nerds, or otaku, or whatever you want to call yourself, bronies, sci-fi nerds, there's a whole big naming spectrum of different nerddoms. But a lot of us throw ourselves into the fandom and just enjoy the fandom, enjoy the anime, manga, Doctor Who specials, whatever your fandom is, and shut out the world for whatever amount of time. The main reason of that is, well, the world really does stink when you get down to the brass tacks, because it really is a very bad place with very bad things happening. So escaping for a while is nothing to be ashamed of, in my opinion. Plus, those normal people that say, well, you're just going into this horrible, shut-in fantasy world, and I'm saying yes, and there's nothing wrong with that. The main reason I say that is because lots of people do that. They just do it in different ways. Some people do it in healthy ways, like go to the gym and express their anger on a punching bag, like punch a bag until they get their anger out, whatever. Some go to less helpful things like alcohol or what have you. Some choose to get obsessed with reality TV shows. The fact that we have a TV show that is entirely related to duck hunting proves that, or duck call making, whatever. My point being that this is our world, even the real world, is a very bad place, and many people have different ways of escaping it for whatever amount of time. Keima just happens to be a person that chooses to escape it through visual novels. And to be honest, I could understand, because I sort of had a parallel between his character and myself, because I am such a big anime nerd. Just replace his gaming with my anime fandom, and you can pretty much see why I love this character so much. However, this does not mean he doesn't have his own flaws, as I said, arrogant and self-centered. But he is such a well-known visual game master that he can conquer supposedly any girl within the visual game world that he himself was challenged by hell without realizing it. One day he receives a letter that's on his, a digital letter that basically says, "Can you truly conquer any girl?" To which he thinks this is a challenge, and he replies, to which he unknowingly signs a contract with the demons of hell. And then a girl named Elsie drops down from the sky in the most awesome way ever, and tells him that he has now signed a contract of which he must help her kill demons, or rather capture demons, and set the world right. Needless to say, he takes it about as well as you would expect. But he is forced to help Elsie and her on her adventure, or rather her job, of capturing demons, because he has a magical ring around his neck that if he does not do the job, it will decapitate him. And also decapitate her, since she is his partner. So, needless to say, they have a reason to fight these demons. However, from what I just explained, you may be thinking, well, how does them fighting demons involve dating sims in any way, form, or fashion? It's two completely different things. Now, on the surface, yes, that may sound like a regular monster of the week sort of scenario, but let me explain. It turns out that these evil demon spirits are hiding within the hearts of different females. I think you already know where I'm going with this. Katsuragi is told that he must woo the young females. He must become their new boyfriend, essentially. Basically, this is how a normal story would go. They meet a girl that is possessed by a demon. In order to get that demon out of the girl's heart where it dwells, he must replace them in their heart by making him their new love interest. I know that sounds weird, but just go with it. Basically, to get the demon out, he has to kiss them, and it has to mean something. So he both has to get a relationship with them, and then at the end of the usually 2 episodes to maybe a little bit more, kiss them and expel the demon. Yes, I realize that is weird, but that is the premise of the story. And for the most part, that's the entire series in a nutshell, both the first and the second, with a few filler in between. It will just be, they find a new girl, he has to woo the young girl, win over her heart, and kiss her. The demon is released, and then Elsie takes a magic bottle and traps the ghost demon inside. Now, you may be thinking, how in the world does that work? Don't the girls get jealous and everything when they see Katsuragi dating another girl the next day? Well, yes and no, they would, and some actually do have slight memories, particularly in the 3rd season, which I've only seen nitpicks of from different reviewers. But from what I understand is a bit different than the 1st and 2nd, so I won't get into it right now. What actually happens is they lose their memory completely of what happens after the ghost is expelled. However, they still retain certain amount of, how should I say, they still kind of remember what happened, but they don't remember completely. They feel that they still have a connection with him, but they don't know what it means, because their memories are completely erased afterwards. But like I said, from what I've heard about the 3rd season, one girl does get her memory back, but I haven't actually watched the 3rd season yet, so I don't know. But in any case, this is the entire series in a nutshell. So what do I think of the series as a whole, or the 2 series, 1st season and 2nd season as a whole? It's a very unique premise. It's basically the monster of the week mixed with harem anime, mixed with more of a, I suppose you could say more of a fantasy element to it. It's a bunch of different genres kind of combined into one. However, there was one individual thing that I thought was very unique. You see, in a lot of animes, they will have it where like a romance anime, just a plain romance anime. They will have one couple that they have a bunch of relationship with, like they show the relationship, and then at the end of the anime they have the kiss and all that, and you're like, yeah, that's good, that's cool. But a lot of times you're like, but the characters really didn't seem like they were real. Or maybe you're saying, but the characters really weren't that interesting, or the relationship wasn't that interesting. In this anime, they are able to, time after time, make each relationship he's in both interesting and make each individual character seem like they are realistic, seem like they actually have personality. They're not just some cardboard cutout. That is very, very hard to do, especially for most regular one-couple animes. But this guy has like tons of different girls that he has to go after to expel the demons from their hearts. To be able to have that much, basically, that much, how should I put this, emotion into something in such a limited time, because each season only has 12 episodes, and you have to have multiple girls in each season, that takes talent on the creator's part. Now, as for the girl that helps him, which is, of course, Elsie, she is basically, throughout this anime, a bumbling girl who is basically that innocent, bumbling girl who's just like, oh, sorry, Katsuragi, I messed up, and all this different stuff. But they do give her a few quirks here and there, like her obsession with fire trucks, the fact that she cooks this really weird food, and she cleans the house really good. These little quirks here and there. And the main quirk she has is with her old childhood friend, which I won't get into because it kind of has spoiler territory written all over it. But now let's go on to the art and animation. The art and animation was what you would come to expect from modern day anime. Very shiny and slick and details where it needs to be. The lesser animation times where the animation kind of slipped was where the comedy was. Because when you have comedy, you don't always need the best animation. This can sometimes even help the comedy at hand when something looks a bit more silly. Basically, what I'm saying is they use their budget very wisely, using the money where they needed to and skipped it a little bit where they didn't. It was a very good way for them to handle their budget with the art style and animation. However, for the music, the only track, it was all very good music, but the only real song that really stood out to me was the opening on the first season, because that one really got me pumped to watch the show, and it even had, at the end of that first song, it kind of sounded like a Code Geass tune at the very end, and the opening to the second season was kind of cool too. It kind of got you, from the lyrics, you kind of understood, okay, this is definitely the second season to The World God Only Knows, especially from the one line they had where it's more of The World God Only Knows, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty self-explanatory. So, in all, I do think this anime is very good. There is, in fact, a third season out right now, but since it just came out this year, I don't believe it has a dub release like the other two. But considering the other two have a dub already, I have no doubt that they will make a dub release sometime in the future. So, for those fans of this anime, or for those of you that watch the first two seasons and want the third season, you'll either have to watch it in sub or just wait for the dub to come out. Now, that being said, I award this anime a very good 4 stars out of 5.